Welcome to the Folktale Project. This is Dan Scholes. This is our final story from Told in the Coffee House, Turkish Tales. And, there's a similarity here to a tale, a style of tale that we've heard many times about learning to commune with nature. This version, it doesn't end like the others. The others end up with whoever has learned to speak with the birds or the trees goes on to live a happy life, but in this case we see why such knowledge is never really a good thing. This is the language of birds. There once lived a Hoja who, it was said, understood the language of birds, but he refused to impart his knowledge. One young man was very persistent in his desire to know the language of these sweet creatures, but the Hoja was inflexible. In despair, the young man went into the woods at least to listen to the pleasant chirping of the birds. By degrees, it conveyed to him a meaning, till finally he understood them to tell him that his horse would die. On returning from the woods, he immediately sold his horse and went and told the Hoja. "Oh, Hoja, why will you not teach me the language of birds? Yesterday I went to the woods, and they warned me that my horse would die, thus affording me an opportunity of selling it and avoiding the loss." The Hoja was silent, but would not give way. The following day the young man again went to the woods, and the chirping of the birds told him that his house would be burned. The young man hurried away, sold his house again, went to the Hoja, and told him all that had happened, adding, "See, Hoja Effendi, you would not teach me the language of the birds, but I have saved my horse and my house by listening to them." On the following day, the young man again went to the woods, and the birds chirped him the doleful tale that on the following day he would die. In tears, the young man went to the Hoja for advice. "Oh, Hoja Effendi, alas, what am I to do? The birds have told me that tomorrow I must die." "My son," answered the Hoja, "I knew this would come, and that is why I refused to teach you the language of birds. Had you borne the loss of your horse, your house would have been saved, and had your house been burned, your life would have been saved." And that is the language of birds. And here we see why it's not always the best thing in the world to understand things that we ought not understand. In this case, the language of the birds. And, I do enjoy this story. I don't love how it ends up for our protagonist, but it's still a really lovely story. This is Dan Scholes for the Folktale Project. Don't forget that you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, Overcast, anywhere you like to get your podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter at Folktale Project. You can find us on Auto Radio, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Spotify, anywhere you like to listen. And you can always head over to folktaleproject.com, where you'll find a new story waiting for you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Next week, we'll be back with 3 new tales. As always, thank you so much for listening.